154 days and counting to the August 8th general elections. President Uhuru Kenyatta, according to the Standard, has issued a shocker to Jubilee aspirants. And before we took a break to look at what transpired at Leaf Funeral Home together with the commercial break, we were on you, Vincent, and you were telling us, in your own opinion, what this portends.
Allow me to say this. If there is any chapter that gives me hope about our constitution, is Article 10.2, our national values, together with Chapter 6. And if you read the principles of leadership that introduces the chapter on leadership and integrity, the selection on merit, taking decisions purely not being informed by corruption, nepotism, or even clanism. Clanism is an addition. For me, one of the most forgotten chapters in our constitution, not really forgotten per se, but the least implemented in the letter and the spirit, is Chapter 6 of the Constitution. So I think my tangent will be that anything for me that is done towards even moving Chapter 6 from one inch to another, I think should be applauded. Now, I am saying this in view of the developments in South Africa. If you remember the issue of the president, Zuma, together with the issue of his housing Nkandla, the director of public prosecution did not do his part properly, for example. But the office of the ombuds, which of course in South Africa is called the public defender, took upon itself to actually to say that even in the way the former president was moved, it was informed by politics. And in the court ruling, the judiciary, when you have an independent and institutions that are ready to do their part, this, just to quote one of the sections, says very well that the reason why we have a judiciary is that one of the things we have to deal with is that every time impunity rears its ugly head, we have a responsibility to slay it. So I think 50% of our problems will be solved if we have the right leaders who will implement Chapter 6 in the letter and in the spirit. So I think this speaks about, for example, the performance about EACC. Why is it that they are not ready, for example, to stamp their authority on and implement Chapter 6?
Where does the public court sit in this? Because you realize Kenya's politics is about public support.
The people are not holy, I will tell you. Even
the court may declare you innocent, but the public feel you're guilty.
But so you see also at times, if Simba will confess some things, the members of the public at times see people in public offices, elected specifically, as ATMs. As in that, the only value I can get, for example, me and Simba, is what nitapata nini kutoka kwa Simba. Where do we expect, for example, Simba to get a limited amount of resources to be giving out as? I don't know, that's my experience. They are here, they can talk.
I'll give you a practical example. We are seated here with members who belong to one coalition. And I will ask Mheshimiwa Simba Arati, has Nairobi County government performed? See, he's hesitant because he knows if he says
please give
no,
the freedom to.
If I had asked him, what has the Jubilee government performed? Because he fears what the public will contribute.
But why would you ask Simba if Nairobi has performed? And I'm here, I can give you the scorecard. We are the only county government that has released a scorecard and said we promised 7 things.
You have set an exam, you have marked yourself and graded yourself.
But the projects are there. You can go and see where the roads are.
Have you seen the projects?
See where the hospitals are.
They may have set the exams for themselves, marked for themselves, and they failed in it.
The beauty of development is there's evidence.
But
you can go and see
I want to point out the question you asked.
And that's in relation to the public court versus set-down system.
I know there is a disquiet among the Nairobians on the work my brother they've done, the governor. But the truth of the matter is that the same people who have done the little that they've done is because of the limited resources too. The resources that we have been talking about, the resources that the central government has been holding. And this is a business that was started a long time ago. If these people, they had enough resources and the debts that they owed by the central government, yes, would have seen anything tangible that they can talk about. We cannot sacrifice them simply because of the resources there which have been held by the central government.
Would you say that if it was a Jubilee leadership?
Jubilee, of course, Jubilee, they have failed the country. How can they run the city?
You see, Vincent?
That's the truth. They have stolen everywhere.
See? Vincent, you see?
How can they run the city? These are hard facts.
National values, integrity. One of the national values that we expect is honesty.
I think one of the things that we have to when we are auditing, for example, a county government, I have realized that many people have not appreciated, for example, the roles of a county government under Schedule 2, Part 2 of the 4th schedule. When even we evaluate counties, for example, for things they are not responsible of. For example, you would find like people asking, county governments have not provided security, when really security, for example, is a national function. Of course, they have a role that they can play, but if we were to do a comprehensive evaluation, the best evaluation is on the ballot, but we can also do a technical evaluation. What I would expect, for example, from my brother Jonathan is it is good they have put themselves out there. Come and check. This is what we promised. This is what we think we have done. I'm staying in the city, Jonathan. I'm yet to be invited into an accountability forum, for example, to audit these things, so that I can also speak as a technical person, because there is the issue, for example, about value for resources, so that if we give you 1 billion and maybe you pumped in 500 million, and did we get value, for example, for our money? So you may have, for example, done the job, and kudos for that, but did we, for example, so those are questions it would be good to have.
Have you people had a sitting where there is an assessment of value for money?
Yes.
Yes, you've done the project.
Yes, we've done that. And actually, I guess sometimes it's communication. You see, the governor and myself, maybe by nature or so, we are a little subtle. Yeah, we don't go and take full-page ads in the newspaper of what we've done. We don't go shouting about it. But what matters is that we do the projects that the people need. Not that we want, but that the people need. Which brings me to the point of public participation. Every single year, we go to every ward, all 85 wards. We, Vincent, advertise in the newspaper, and we go to every ward and we ask people, what is it that you'd like to see this year in your ward? Is it an ECD center? Is it a new healthcare, whatever? A new healthcare facility with medicine, is it? Or is it a road? Yeah? And then we do that, and everybody is on social media now. All you need to do is just follow me at Jmweke, or follow the governor at Kidero Evans, and you'll see 2-3 times a week we are out somewhere looking at some project. Now, scorecard, we did a self-evaluation because we wanted to tell people, listen, this is what we told you we were doing. Now our term is coming to an end.
Yeah, you realize we have a split screen now, viewers, and on your left side is a convoy transporting the body of Governor Nderitu Gachagua on Thika Road, now headed to Nyeri, where the requiem mass will be done. Quite a somber mood there, quite captivating there and everything. But in the studio here, we still go on with Jonathan in a short while. Just have a glimpse of that.
This is when the Evolution Conference this week, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to start today. of Governor Nderitu Gachagua. My panelist here, Vincent Kimosop, says this is akin to a state funeral. And remember, the service will be starting at around 11 o'clock later this morning. The President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to attend, and this comes on the day that the devolution conference is supposed to be kicking off in Naivasha. You realize the official opening day for the devolution conference is tomorrow. Today, all the governors, all the people of Nyeri, and a good chunk of the whole country will be converging in Nyeri for the interment of Mheshimiwa Nderitu Gachagua, who was governor of Nyeri County. Do you draw the line between the county government powers or values or factors of unity and those of the national government? Remember, the National Assembly earlier on at the beginning of this dispensation passed a legislation that was barring governors from flying the national flag. And so we were expecting that maybe the coffin would be dropped in the Nyeri County flag. But according to our analyst Vincent Kimosop, the governor's position is a position recognized in the Constitution nationally, and so there is absolutely nothing wrong with having it dropped in the national flag. Earlier on, Deputy Governor Nairobi Jonathan Mweke had alluded to the fact that in times like this, whether you have differences politically or otherwise, it's important that you come together in show of respect. He was talking in reference to reports by some of the MCAs in Nyeri County that they will not be attending the funeral for fear of their lives. And Deputy Governor Mweke said that with the expected security, there is absolutely nothing to fear for, given that the President will be present, the Deputy President, 47 governors, and a host of other dignitaries. We'll be continuing in a short while with our news review. Remember, in the studios this morning, I have Vincent Kimosop, who is an analyst. I have Mheshimiwa Simba Arati, Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, and of course, Mheshimiwa Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor, Nairobi County. We are looking at the decision by the President to demand that all Jubilee aspirants clear with the EACC before they can run for nomination for any of the seats that are available ahead of the 8th August national general elections. And Mr. Kimosop said that it's very important that we uphold our national values and also the Chapter 6 of the Constitution that talks about leadership and integrity. Gentlemen, as our viewers continue seeing the pictures there on Thika Highway, now we come back to the studio, and very quickly I want us to look at NASA. And this is the point where I invite you, Mheshimiwa Jonathan Mweke. Over the weekend, there were reports that your representative in the technical committee, Senator Johnson Muthama, is leaning towards Raila Odinga and is causing discomfort in Wiper. What's the position?
No, that's
actually the Standard says there is a standoff in NASA over joint party nomination race.
Yeah. Well, you see, NASA is about unifying the entire country. Yeah. And while there are representatives in those technical committees who are aligned to different political parties, all they're looking at is the good of the country. So it's wrong to say that everybody is there to support their own. No, everybody is there to ensure that we have one cohesive, inclusive, and functional country. And I'm sure Johnson Muthama's position is just that. He's just looking for the best person to be able to lead and who's going to be first amongst equals. And indeed, you've seen the 4 principles say that whoever it is that they agree on, because the ultimate decision is the 4 of them by consensus, whoever they agree on to lead this NASA into the next election and indeed to take over government is the one that they will support. Now, parties, of course, will fight for their own. For myself, in Wiper, I'll say Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka is the best. Mheshimiwa Simba Arati will say Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga is the best. But I think between all of us, we know that whoever it is going to be able to lead, and everybody else will support them.
Mheshimiwa Simba Arati, is this confusion strategic or it's real confusion?
There is no confusion in NASA. there isn't. And
how so? And yet we see Ali Hassan Joho campaigning for Raila Odinga at the coast.
You see,
we see lately Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula seem to be trooping together quite a lot.
No, you see what happens is that that's not true. The other day we were in Meru, Tharaka-Nithi, and I saw the 4 principals.
I said together. Quite a lot lately. They were in Isiolo together. They were in Meru before that trip with the 4 principals.
If my is not around, he would have been at Isiolo. That is the truth. If I want to tell you, there is nothing against that.
How come Mudavadi was not in Isiolo?
But you see, Mudavadi is in Mombasa. Therefore, and another thing, we don't expect them to be working together every time. It's also a good strategy for us to be able to govern as the country. Otherwise, I can tell you, if there is time that we are more united than you guys, the press guys, want to bring the division, which will not happen. Because even if we were to leave Kalonzo out, where will he go? Even if it was Raila to be left out, where will he go to? There is no space in Jubilee. Jubilee, nobody would want to join Jubilee. The only savior for this country is NASA.
You people decided until 2032.
Yeah. You people, and by you people I mean NASA, you seem to be blaming the media quite a lot. The media is just a reflection of what is transpiring. If we see Wetangula and Kalonzo in Meru, in Isiolo together, twice or thrice, what's wrong with saying that? Should we assume that?
Why is it that the first day when we were at Meru, Raila and Kalonzo, you didn't ask where were Mudavadi and Weta? The following day they joined us at Tharaka-Nithi. Therefore, our program cannot manage it through the press. We know how to run our matters. And indeed, nobody's going to afford to divide the NASA, the NASA team. I'll let you know that the only ultimate goal for our leaders, the 4 of them, and with the team of 12, is to give us 1 flag bearer.
Vincent, is this confusion strategic or is it a confusion?
I think you have to appreciate that in politics is the art of the possible. Politics requires also you to balance a lot of interests. When you bring in ODM, when you bring in Ford Kenya, Wiper and Amani, they represented interest in the first place. So when you bring them together, balancing all those interests, of course, there are challenges that will come. So for me, I see these as possible teething problems as the coalition is gelling, and particularly if they will be able to pass the test, whereby when one of them is named as the flag bearer and the other one the running mate, if they will stick together. Why this if is because you already know there are 2 positions, for example, in the constitution, in the national executive, that is the president and the deputy president. So what happens to the other 2 principals who expected or who declared interest in running for president? So if the 4 would stick together after that announcement, then it will tell you that they will have balanced their interest, and then they are moving forward. Now, one of the reasons why this kind of development is good in our sector is that it's a demonstration of the maturity of our politics. If you remember, in 1992, many political parties ran or sponsored presidential candidates. As we moved ahead, that has tended to reduce, and there is a lot of crystallization around 1 or 2 candidates. Why this is good is because it is helpful for us to be able to now to move from the tribal mobilization to then now possible discussion and the evolution of issues into our national politics. My recommendation to either parts of the divide is to really clearly pack what is the organizing question. So far,
which is what I want to head to. If you are just joining us, on the right of your screen is a convoy bearing the remains of Mheshimiwa Nderitu Gachagua, and now snaking out of Thika Road, very fast moving towards Nyeri, where the Requiem Mass is expected to start anytime after 11 o'clock. We have our very own Macharia Gashuru camped there, and he'll be keeping us posted on the events as they unfold. But now, gentlemen, the reason why I keep asking this, Simba, and don't take me wrongly, is because the other side of the divide has been harping onto this. You people don't even have a flag bearer. Actually, they are making it the question, Vincent, if you got me right.
It cannot be the...
You realize corruption is not the question, because anytime Jubilee mention CORD and NASA mentions Jubilee as far as corruption is concerned.
So then that means then therefore the organizing question has to be something different. I don't know if Simba will tell us or
as we speak now, it seems like the organizing question in Jubilee is the confusion in NASA. They don't have a flag bearer, they are confused, they can't lead and anything. Do you gentlemen see this, Vincent?
What I'm talking about organizing question is something like in 1990, in 2000 in 2002, the organizing question was Moi must go. In 1997, if you looked around, was the same. But in 2007, is for example 42 against 1. In 2013, it was the ICC. So usually the organizing question or what galvanizes the basis will be very clear and elaborate. So that's what I'm saying. At this point, it's not yet very clear what will be the organizing question for 2017.
And that is what will determine whether NASA holds together, or like you said, if they can hold together or otherwise. Jonathan?
Yeah, you see, this whole business of who's the flag bearer, you don't have a flag bearer, so you're disorganized. We have an IEBC calendar. Yeah. And the IEBC says that every party or coalition must have their presidential candidate nominated by May 30th. So why are we being managed like Mheshimiwa Simba is saying? We know how to run our affairs. We don't have to be managed. You don't have to be told now, tomorrow you must tell us who it is. No. The real truth is, even us not having a presidential candidate now is strategic. Jubilee have no clue who they are going to face, which means they have no clue how to put up a strategy to campaign in the next election. So they are trying to force us or to manage us to get our own presidential candidate. And we are saying, by the time IBC is asking for a presidential candidate, because we are law-abiding, we will have a presidential candidate by May of 30th. It doesn't mean we are disorganized. It just means that tumejipanga vizuri.
I want us to move on to a story on page 7 of the Standard. But before then, it talks about Kenya borrowing 95 billion to sink deeper into debt. But before that, Vincent, a quick one. Same topic. What is that question that you feel, or you, in your opinion, would split NASA?
Wow, that's a very, because you know, for us, we have to face it as from an analysis perspective.
Precisely,
I think,
and that's why I asked you and not the two gentlemen.
Not the two gentlemen. That's and from the, I think the question will be, who is the weakest link in NASA? If you look at Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, and Moses Wetangula, that is, they have actually done something that has never happened.
Been done almost anywhere.
And that is to be able to remain united as an opposition after losing an election. If you look at the history of our country, that has not been the case. So the person who walked into NASA late, and that is Musalia Mudavadi, is for example can be an easy target, for example, for Jubilee if they give him an offer, or if, for example, the displacement that was done by Mudavadi on
actually saw him in a shirt.
That's why I'm careful. So if if, for example, they do not manage the Wetangula factor in the coalition, that for me is where I see the challenges. For example, that NASA needs to really ensure that they address it very well, because all these three have had a history.
But it's quite interesting, because in prior to the 2013 election, Mheshimiwa Mudavadi had an offer that never saw the light of day. And like they say, once bitten, twice shy. I don't know if that is going to have an effect on what we have now. Simba, a quick one, and
you know, I want to just follow what Venus just said. Our weakest point is our strongest point. I can tell you, Mudavadi, you may think Mudavadi could be the weakest point of break, but it could be our actually strong point of this coalition. And that
actually is the initiator of NASA.
Precisely. Therefore, I'll let you know that for those wishful thinking, Thomas and outside there, is that we're gonna not break.
Is Kalonzo the weakest point with the issue of KMF?
Yeah.
Is he being looked at as the weakest link?
You know,
So that they try to shake him a bit?
that issue of KMF. Last year, Kalonzo was nominated by a global organization. He went all the way to the United Nations in New York and received an award called African Dignitary Man of the Year. Now, he received that award not because he's been vice president or a deputy speaker or a minister of foreign affairs for years. He received that award because of the work he has done with Kalonzo Musyoka Foundation. You saw children who are now top lawyers. One was even the president of last year's master's class, come and say, if not for Kalonzo Musyoka Foundation, I would not be there. We saw a young boy who's a chief officer in the Tana River County government coming to say, if not for Kalonzo Musyoka Foundation, I'd not be here. Now, this is the same foundation you are saying is operating illegally? Come on, guys. It's the politics where they have tried to say Kalonzo is leaving NASA. He doesn't leave. Kalonzo is going to Jubilee. He becomes the strongest guy going around the country looking for votes for the same NASA. They've tried everything. Now they're trying to get into his foundation. That's helping poor people. I think our opponents need to be a little more creative.
Smart.
Quite interesting. This confusion is really turning out to be strategic. Like I said, let's move on to page 7 of the Standard. Kenya borrows 95 billion shillings to sink deeper into debt. Now they're saying some of the causes for concern is 25 billion shillings, a loan taken from the Chinese in the last 6 months for infrastructure financing. Then 1 billion shillings, loan that will go towards ICT connectivity, project 3, 520 million shillings. This is loan to fund multinational Lake Victoria maritime communication and transport. 776 million shillings obtained to fund private nationwide governmental network, and other loans were taken from African Development Bank and the Belgian government. Where do we sit, Vincent?
Public debt is increasingly becoming an issue that all Kenyans should be concerned. And particularly the specific issue is because the rate in which public debt is increasing. When we look at, we have already passed the 50% the ratio between public debt to GDP.
Have we? The last time they said we were at 40.
No, we are already past 50%. Because if you look at, as in the 1.5, when you add the domestic and the foreign debt, that is so. When you are at 50%, public debt is not in itself a bad thing. The concern that you have is that, for example, the size of our economy and the rate within which we are growing. Because if you're growing and you have a good amount of resources you're generating, then you're able to pay your debt. So I think when we look at why we are borrowing, the things the money is going to, and then if we vis-a-vis the priorities of the country, then for me, actually, one of the things I expected, Simba, even from an opposition perspective, is that public conversation on public debt. I don't know why it is not on the public square, yet, for example, that's an issue everybody should be.
Actually, the writer says in one of the paragraphs that multinational leaders such as the IMF had raised concerns over Kenya's ability to sustain its debt.
And sustainable, yes.
Simba, you sit in the National Assembly. You're supposed to be the watchdog for the national government.
The problem we may be having for the new government which is coming in, NASA government, is repaying these debts. Our worry, even the 95 billion, it may not go to intended project. It will go to these Jubilee thieves. Because they are known. Their other name is stealing. You know, that's what they do. And I'll let you know that through even Parliament, where Thailand of Number has been working well for them. You saw even the other day what they have done using the speaker. They have hurriedly brought the petition of removing Ouko from the office. He is only a scheme.
That was brought by a private citizen, was
that the same private citizen who purported to be a petitioner did not have the meat itself in the petition. And so you can't accuse the Jubilee government for having brought him. No. That's an assumption. No. I sit in that parliament. I know how business is conducted. There is no way the petition the petitioner will bring a petition the same day to the clerk of National Assembly, then it gets its way to the speaker, whereas the lawyers in Parliament, they have not sat down and gone through the body of the petition.
But that goes back to you people, because you as parliamentarians have the House Business Committee.
Precisely.
And
but,
where you members sit.
You have seen in several occasions where they have brought even very bad laws on the floor of the House, which results into a fight. You know, what we are saying is that is a system where they have abused numbers. They have abused numbers, and in abusing numbers, what they have done is, Charles, we don't expect much. The only thing is that they are going to collapse every institution, which is seemed to be doing its own work.
Jonathan, I need your take on this before we move on. I'm told a reporter, Stephen Leto, is now on Thika Road. We'll be joining him shortly, but very quickly, your take on this issue of Kenya borrowing.
Well, when you are reading where the money is going, I was wondering where Nairobi City County is, because the government owes us 69 billion shillings and they've refused to pay, which would have helped us actually do projects here in Nairobi. But going back to this borrowing, I think we've more than tripled what Jubilee found here in this country. And what that is doing to us is it's collapsing our dollar. It's increased the standard of living, first of all, significantly. You can see how much petrol is.
Apparently the price of wheat flour is now much more than that of maize flour.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's you've seen companies are shutting down, they are laying off people. So it's completely collapsing our economy. And every baby now who's born owes 85,000 shillings. Somebody is born today, uko na mzigo ya 85,000 shillings. I think NASA must take over this government.
Well then,
I can't put it in any other.
We'll be interrogating that in a short while.
Let me ask her.
Quickly before we join Stephen Leto.
I think that is why, for example, as I said, the crystallization of issues, maybe NASA against Jubilee, one of the things from an analytical perspective we would expect on the table is what is NASA's plan on, for example, debt sustainability, so that we are able to interrogate as analysts that are your proposals tenable or not. So, for example, in 10 years, how would NASA, for example, government see public debt?
I said the problem we may be having when we are coming into power is the debts that these guys they have accumulated.
And so what the analysts are asking is, so how are you going to handle
on the table is, for example, NASA's plan on maybe how, for example, do we how will you manage public debt? Because it's already a public debt. Any government that gets in, it has to be it will be obligated to pay.
You need to have a strategy rather than just blaming, and then when you come in...
Of course, we anticipate that we'll cut down on the debts.
You will tell us more about that. I want us to cross over to Thika Road, where Stephen Leto is currently stationed. Remember, he's following on the convoy carrying the remains of Mheshimiwa Nderitu Gachagua, former Nyeri governor, who will be interred today. Stephen, if you can hear me, take it away.
Thank you very much, Charles. Good morning once again. We are currently at Kenol town in Murang'a County, where the convoy that is accompanying the remains of the late former Nyeri governor Nderitu Gachagua has just passed here, going towards the Nyeri County, where this body is going to be laid to rest in his Iriga home in Mathia constituency. Well, the convoy has been accompanied by several governors, about 10 of them, led by Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto. We have Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok. We also saw there we're having Laikipia Governor Joshua Irungu, and alongside other governors, members of parliament from Nyeri County, led by Mukurueni Member of Parliament Kabando Akabando. And so family members we've seen here when the convoy was heading to Nyeri is being accorded heightened high security, where it is being escorted by security personnel alongside its family members. And so we are also thinking, or maybe the president's convoy could also be headed to Nyeri Nyeri via this route, because he is also expected to, President Uhuru Kenyatta is also expected to be in Nyeri County, that is the Mathira constituency, at around past 10 a.m., whereby the burial ceremony is supposed to kick off. Remember, Nderitu Gachagua has been termed as a selfless leader, a leader who has been out there to serve the people of Nyeri. He is the first governor to pass on, or rather to die, before his tenure comes to an end in office. And so we will be also interesting to know what will be happening in Nyeri. Remember, my colleague Macharia Gashuru is in Nyeri County, also keeping an eye on that side. But we are told that the convoy that has just passed here in Kenol might have a stop in Sagana or Karatina, whereby members of the public might be allowed to see the convoy, and so that is an expected stop. But remember, yesterday the brother to the late Nderitu Gachagua, Rigadi, said that they are not anticipating to have any stop along this highway towards Nyeri County, because they will be racing against time to ensure that by 10 a.m. the burial ceremony will have kicked off, and that by past midday, then the ceremony, or the burial ceremony, will come to an end, and the late Nderitu Gachagua will be laid to rest. Remember, it is a function that will be attended by several politicians. The members of the opposition, we are not told yet whether they will be attending, but we know it is a political season, and members of the opposition, or rather members of the political divide, are going to attend the burial of their fellow politician. And so we are expecting a heated political session when the burial ceremony begins. And so for now, we are still waiting to hear from the president's handlers on whether the president will be flying to Nyeri, or whether he will be using this route that the convoy has just used towards Nyeri County. And for now, we'll just hand you back to studio, and we'll be keeping you up to speed on whether if the president will be coming towards this point. We'll be keeping you in check. Back to you in studio, Charles.
Thank you, Stephen. Just before we let you go, you have mentioned there is likely to be a stopover in Sagana and Karatina. Any chances of the public being allowed to view the body?
That is what the family has really said, that they are not intending to do so, because what they are told us while we were at the Lee Funeral Home is that they will only allow that should there be need for the public to view the body in Karatina and Sagana. But as we speak, the family was so insistent that they will go express to their home in Hiriga. They are not even intending to go through Nyeri, whereby they are supposed to make some a stopover to have the people of Nyeri County view the body, because they are saying they are racing against time, and that they want by 10 a.m. the burial ceremony to have kicked off. The family, Charles, is really working on tight timelines, bearing in mind that the body spent the night in the Lee Funeral Home in Nairobi County, and so that transporting the body to Nyeri will take the convoy about 2 hours or so. And so that is what they are saying, that they are not intending to do a stopover in Sagana and Karatina to have the body being viewed, but what they might do is just to stop and have some few minutes, and members of the family, or rather members or his supporters, just to gather and view the convoy and let it pass. But they are ruling out the possibility of having the body being viewed, being viewed like it was done at the Lee Funeral Home in the morning. But what we are sure about is that they might be making a stopover in Karatina and Sagana. Back to you, Charles.
A question, Stephen, if you can still hear me. We saw the convoy snake out of Lee Funeral Home and speed down on Thika Superhighway. Have they slowed down in any of the centers? Are there crowds?
Well, we have not witnessed any crowds except in Juja and Thika town, whereby members of the public had lined up on the roadside just to view, or rather to see the convoy pass through. But I don't think if the members of the public really knew about the time the convoy was passing. That is why it caught them rather by surprise. And also we noted that the security detail were really keen on having the entire convoy moving alongside the remains of the late Nderitu Gachagua, they were really keen to see that the convoy was moving really fast at the Thika Superhighway. We even saw that there was a very tight communication with other traffic officers along this particular highway, whereby the remains of the late Gachagua had just passed. But what we are also told, you know, the governors are also accompanying the body. I've just mentioned to you earlier on that we have about 10 governors that comprise of Nakuru governor, Laikipia governor. We are also having the Turkana governor, Bomet governor. All are in that convoy, and they are also keen on moving fast, so that also they secure places at the burial ceremony, ceremony service rather, whereby we are also told by at some point some of the governors will have to go ahead of the convoy, while others will remain behind accompanying the same. But we are expecting, because what we know now, we are told by one of our guys who are already stationed in Karatina and Sagana, we are told that crowds have started building up along the roadside of that particular region, and we are hoping that by now that the convoy that has just left here is gonna be there anytime from now. But we are not sure. They haven't met any members of the public to keep them tuned studio.
Thank you very much for that incisive report. We'll be joining you later on in the course of the day, as well as other reporter Macharia Gachuru, who is currently in Hiringa in Madira, Nyeri County, where the service will be conducted from 11 o'clock. Remember, that is Stephen Leto, stationed at Thika Road, just after Thika Town, Kenol Petrol Station, giving us a report on the process of the convoy carrying the remains of Mheshimiwa Nderitu Gachagua. Back to the studio as we wrap up this last segment. And sorry I cut you short when you were talking about this thing, and you are quite emphatic about NASA should come in. But Vincent has asked a pertinent question that none of you gentlemen has addressed. How does NASA intend to handle Kenya's debts? You're only telling us it's going to 85 shillings per every child born, it's going out of the ceiling. Then what? When you come in, will you be telling us, oh, these people incurred so much debt?
First and foremost, you evaluate the debt that has been there, and then you find out the economy, of course, has been going down. So you come up with a mid to long-term strategy on how you're going to grow the economy. Meanwhile, you restructure the debt to ensure that you have enough resources to be able to start paying it back. That's one. But two, you also stop the bleeding. You stop borrowing, and you're able to widen the tax bracket, not increase taxes, but widen the tax bracket using either technology to catch more people who are working and not paying taxes, so that you can have enough money within the economy to be able to pay the debt. Number three, get your taxes to work. That's how economies grow. The issue we are having right now is, first of all, people are paying taxes, then you're going to borrow that money, and instead of making investments with that money, it's going into people's pockets. I mean, surely you guys have heard of some people carrying money, government money, out of banks in the middle of the night in sacks, gunias. They say that in parliament. Yeah. So how people borrow? You borrow to make an investment, then the return on that investment is what you use to pay back the debt. So really it's about fiscal responsibility.
Vincent,
that's what NASA is saying.
Before I go to Simba, don't you think the government is investing this money in projects that will be able to pay back these debts? Look at ICT connectivity, look at multinational Lake Victoria Maritime Communication and Transport, look at private nationwide governmental network.
It's a good investment.
And these projects that
we cannot rule out that they are going to facilitate an environment that will enhance, for example, more economic development. That is good. But the other question you ask ourselves is that where is, for example, Kenya's economy performing? Look, for example, if you cannot, for you to have an economy that is functioning, you have to address the issue of innovation, you have to address the issue of productivity. There was a research that was done that if you were to invest, for example, in the livestock sector, the impact of it is the multiplier effect is 4. unlike, for example, the agricultural sector. Look, for example, at the manufacturing sector. It has stagnated at a rate of 10%. And so, for me, yes, there are good investments and they are going to the right places, but there are better places, for example, that we need to focus on, so that we have more people engaged productively in the economy. On the issue of, for example, on public debt, I agree to some extent, fiscal responsibility, better economic management. I think over and above Jonathan, that I think then you have to unveil, for example, your economic agenda, so that because when the economy is properly functioning, then even debt servicing is not going to be a problem. So the question will be, instead of I think possibly you have a strong American, when you hear the terminology "stop the bleeding," very strongly used in an American context. So before then the election, it is good for NASA to lay out its economic
how
agenda.
they are going to stop the bleeding, how they are going to manage
you
it
don't
fiscally.
do it when you get into the office. It is prepare before you get into
I want us to hear from Simba before we move on to the next story very quickly. As we do that, this story says Kenya's foreign debt currently stands at about 3.2 trillion. The latest report makes Kenya the biggest debtor in the region, just like we're the biggest economy in the region.
In the first instance, I believe when we come in the office is that we recommit ourselves into from the people that we are borrowed, that we can renegotiate, terms which have given us their money. Therefore, that's the first business. Two, we must make it possible for more investors, involvement which is friendly, for more investors to come in. Otherwise, the way we are going, and another thing is that anybody who must have stolen from the public, be it by pretense or by omission, it is that they must pay back. That's only the discipline.
Including those who will be in the NASA government.
Precisely, we have said it, that we are not going to do business with the government. And actually that's one of our 7-point key point that we've discussed, that we are not going to do business with the government. Whereas these people, including the president's family, they are doing business with the government.
Therefore, that raises a question, because, for example, if you look at the report that have been submitted before Parliament, you have, for example, members of Parliament who are presently elected on different tickets of the parties that are affiliated in NASA, who are doing business.
How
do you reconcile?
And that's what we have said, that when NASA is coming into business, this business that you are doing business with the government, it has to come to a stop. That's the only way we can run the country. You can't be given a responsibility of serving the people, then your work is stealing from them.
Charles, I think we also, if you're saying that then people have to pay back money that they have stolen, what we should hear is how, for example, do you intend to reconstitute the architecture of fighting corruption? Because any government cannot, as in people have stolen. That is a fact. That's why the country is not doing well on the fight against corruption. You can see the corruption indices. So what we need to hear, for example, is how do you reconstitute the architecture so that people pay back?
But we also have to look at this being an election year. Is there a correlation between borrowing and needing money for elections?
Good question. Is there a correlation?
Why is that borrowing coming now? Budgets have already been almost concluded.
I think
some people be looking for money to go and campaign.
For me, one of the reasons why I see why borrowing has gone up is possibly the government is cash strapped. One of the ways that, or the economy is not doing well, so the taxes we are raising
are not sufficient
to do what. So that's why we're saying there's space for anyone to put the agenda.
So does it mean we are having an unsustainable budget?
What I'm thinking is that the guys in the system, they want to make it impossible for another person to come in and run the government. Either because they know they are going, if you come in, you get that it's difficult for you to run the government. And it's a well calculated.
How so? Considering the zeal with which...
No, there is no zeal with these guys have. There is no zeal the president has and his deputy. The zeal they have is how much are they getting at this particular time.
I want us to take another quick crossover to Nyeri, but when we come back we'll be finishing with the shocking revelations in the education sector. Now, apart from the issue of bullying in schools that is emerging now, although I don't know if any of you people ever survived from bullying in high school. We'll be looking at that together with the story on page 3 of the Daily Nation. Shock as trainee teachers fail the Kenya National Examination Council examinations again. This will be our last story in this news review segment. But before we get there, we cross over to Hiringa village in Madira, Nyeri County, where our reporter Macharia Gashuru is to bring us up to speed on events going on in preparation for the interment of the late Nderitu Gachagua. Macharia, if you can hear me.
And we're just waiting for the body, or the arrival of the body of the late Governor Nderitu Gachagua, and we are informed that the body is expected to arrive here at around 10 a.m. and the service will be beginning at 11 a.m. The service that will be conducted by the PCA Church. Now, people are still, all mourners are still coming in. We're told President Uhuru Kenyatta, Deputy William Ruto, and former President Mwai Kibaki are among the dignitaries expected here to join thousands of mourners who will be coming here. Security has been heightened here. A spot check, quite a huge number of police officers are here to ensure that everything is in order. And we've been speaking to the county commissioner, Naftali Mongatia, who has been holding meetings with family members to ensure that all is well here. Now, before his death, Nderitu Gachagua had told his family that his wish was to be buried next to his late father, that is Naftali Gachagua, and that is where he will be buried. So we are informed that just a few days before he died, he called his close family members, including his brother and Rigathi Gachagua, who is the family spokesman, and he had given them his wish. So we are still waiting for the body here in Hiringa village, and once the body arrives here, the service will begin at 11, and we expect to maybe the family members will be speaking, and we've been speaking to family members on how they will live to remember Nderitu Gachagua, and he has left a huge gap and a big legacy that the family says they will be up to task to ensure that they protect and defend the legacy of Nderitu Gachagua. Earlier on, we spoke to Rigathi Gachagua, who says after the burial, the family will be meeting to see the way forward on issues of politics. Remember, the family has been in Nyeri politics for quite some time. That is Nderitu Gachagua, and Rigathi Gachagua is also eyeing for the Madira seat. So he says the family will be looking at how they will be protecting or defending the legacy of Nderitu Gachagua. So we are expecting thousands of mourners led by President Uhuru Kenyatta, of course, his deputy William Ruto, and former President Mwai Kibaki, among other dignitaries, will be coming here for the burial. And Nderitu Gachagua will also be remembered for fighting against cartels, and especially in the coffee sector. That is what many locals that we've been speaking to are saying. Nderitu Gachagua was also will also be remembered for standing firm politically. Remember, in 2013, despite the party, the National Alliance Party (TNA), having a stronghold here in Nyeri, Nderitu Gachagua was able to capture his seat on a GNU ticket. So he has been going against all odds here in Nyeri County, and the political class here says that Nderitu Gachagua will be remembered for his firm foundation in politics, and therefore will be waiting to see how the family will be defending his legacy here in Nyeri County. Like I've told you, his brother says they will be meeting to see the way forward, but they say they are ready to stand with the new governor, that is Samuel Wamatai, to ensure that he accomplishes what they started with Nderitu Gachagua. That was in 2013, and we'll be waiting to see how that will fold. So we're still here, and we will be bringing you live updates from here in Hiringa village. The body has already left Listenro, and we're expecting they'll be here anytime before 10 a.m. this morning. Charles.
Thank you very much, Macharia Gashuru from Hiringa village in Madira, Nyeri County. We finish our news review segment before we lock you in Nyeri, where the requiem mass for the late Nderitu Gachagua will be conducted in a short while. But before then, gentlemen, this last segment, I want us to focus on the education sector. And we have two stories standing out in the dailies today. One is about the cases of bullying in Alliance High School, the allegations in Maseno School, and people are coming out and saying, guys, if you're not bullied in high school, then you don't know what you're talking about. But some people are saying the gravity is the issue, where blood is now shed, where people are crippled. That absolutely is not right. But before we go there, shockers trainee teachers failed Kenya National Examination Council exams. Now there is a crisis in teachers' colleges across the country after nearly half of the trainees who sat for NEC exams failed. The revelation emerged during a graduation ceremony at Moi Teachers College in Baringo, where 130 trainee teachers out of 360 got referrals. And these are the people who are going to teach the children. What does it mean for the education sector?
Breakdown in the system. It's the exact same thing that happened in last year's Form 4s, and the government came and said that people have failed, so the exams did not leak. I think they completely missed the point, because for me, you can't say that half of our population are foolish and they can't pass an exam.
Does failing an exam mean you're foolish, Jonathan?
Well, it doesn't mean that you're foolish, but it means that you've not been able to account, you've not learned.
You have not lived up to society's expectations.
No, it means that you've not learned. Because what is an exam? An exam is, you're told we are going to test you on some of the things that you're supposed to know. And if you don't know these things, then you have not learned. Which brings a very, very grave thing. Is it that our schools are not teaching? Or is it that the exams are being set on material that is outside the curriculum? It can only be of those two things. But you can't say that half of our population cannot pass exams, or again I can use the word foolish, because if you're not learning, then you're foolish.
Simba, considering that trainee teachers who are supposed to impart knowledge to children in schools are now said to have failed.
You know, there is a trend which is going on here that Matiang'i has to prove a point. That he has to qualify the fact that there are around 33,000 people who got E. Therefore, you want to build a case that yes, you guys, you know, even from the college level, these were the materials we have there. Therefore, is a government which want to prove a point, whereas it doesn't think of 33,000 young people who may not decide not even to go to repair the school. Therefore, is a government which want to prove to its own people that yes, as my brother has put it, that either people they are foolish in terms of actually going to do the exam itself.
In your own opinion, before the results of O levels last year and now this, were you okay with the education system, the way things were running?
Of course, the
one school getting 200
we have seen it before, not even the last year. We have seen those discrepancies for so long. That yes, Matiang'i came in, brought some sanity, but it cannot qualify to say that half of the country people, they are stupid.
I think the different. I would look at it from a different perspective. That we have been on a downslide stream, even from values perspective. Society issues cannot be isolated in society. Like for example, when you have a society whereby parents, for example, are ready to purchase examinations for their children, as in, you know, just imagine you've invested in a child and you're ready to buy an examination paper for your so all these things
so that the society accepts my child, because the issue of society
actually that brings me to the point of, are exams the only thing of evaluating people? So maybe we have to rethink our mode of evaluation for our society, and this curriculum not only review but also change is may have come at the right time. The other thing that if I was to interact with all the facts about the issue of bullying is that maybe we went we need to ask nowadays we have seen schools starting to elect, for example, their prefects. Is this really the right way of choosing and nurturing leadership? We know, for example, elections are good as we have said in Article 4, that democracy and national values. But how do we blend, for example, democracy and our own processes as a community and a society of nurturing and building leaders? Because in alliances, the stories that are on the ladies are to be believed is that the prefects had a lot of powers, and they took it a notch higher.
Power and influence, because they are apparently elected by the students themselves.
Unfortunately, this one of alliance could actually just be on the a tip on the iceberg. That the other worst things that are happening in other schools. Alliance may have gotten into the headlines because of its history, prestige, and prominence, and the people and the children and the people who take their children there. What happens in a dark school somewhere in the corner where maybe even torture would be happening, and it's because the media cannot get there. So I think it is high time we rethink and we really unpack and have a candid conversation about our education sector, and just deal with these symptoms.
You've raised a very pertinent issue. During your days in school, I believe, like mine, prefects were elected or were nominated by the school administration. Strikes were limited. If one school goes on strike this term, the next strike you will hear is probably 6, 7, 8 months down the line. But today, I mean, they elect their most popular guys, the guys who will never go out there and tell the administration if something is wrong. And look what we are having in our hands. Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Nairobi school and I was a prefect, and yes, was elected by the teachers based on
academic records,
sometimes based on leadership quality, based on how you carry out yourself from Form 1 to Form 4 and so on and so forth. And teachers are trained for this stuff. They can pick out leaders. So there could be a correlation.
Unlike students who will pick the most popular among them.
Correct. There could be a correlation between when you elect students who are just picking the most popular, or picking somebody not because they're leaders but because they can protect them, or they can defend them, or hide some things from the teachers on what's happening with the students, is why you're seeing some of this unrest. But what I was saying before about the education system itself is, I think we've put too much pressure all the way towards, because you get educated so that when you grow up you can go and earn a living for yourself. And I think we've put too much pressure on our society and on our children, that if you want to be a doctor, unless you get an A in agriculture, you can't make it to university. Now, there's no correlation between a doctor and agriculture. We've put too much pressure that if you want to go and do a job that maybe Vincent does here, you must have a degree and 2 master's degrees and all of that. So you find there's too much pressure, and people now begin to look for shortcuts to look for those, to get those academic qualifications that might not be necessary.
Maybe they should have done the same with politics, and made politics a profession rather than a career. So that if you want to be a member of parliament, you must have scored A- in high school. I don't know what
but you see, that doesn't work. And just to finish my point before I give my colleagues a chance, if you look at tycoons like the late Njenga Karume, who hardly went to school but able to build business empires that even somebody who studied business at a master's level can't.
But they surrounded themselves with people who went to school.
Look at the richest people in the world, Bill Gates and those people. They dropped out of school. So academics is not everything. You just need to get a system where you give people an opportunity to live their dreams. If you're a child and you want to fly a plane, you should be given a system throughout growing up that guides you towards your career path, and not telling you have to read this big book, and if you don't pass it, you can't be a pilot. I think that's where there's a break in the system. I think we just need to realize that our children's dreams are valid, and as government, create a space in which people can thrive.
Before I get to you, Vincent, as we wrap it up.
Bullying has been there. I've heard of it. Of course, I didn't get into a boarding school. Therefore, I'm one of such a student who could go to one school after 1 year. Therefore, I literally went to 3 schools because of my background. My background, and as well, I was just a naughty boy throughout. If there is one boy who must have received many strokes of canes that time, It's Simbarat, and I thank God that
how did you
the
reform?
The strokes
So you are not a naughty MP. You must have reformed somewhere.
The strokes did some magic.
the strokes.
You missed an arsenal to
The strokes.
competitors.
No, he just told them that you can reform even if you're the owner.
The strokes. I thank God for the strokes I received when I was just.
And I can hear, I can tell where you are headed.
And
You want the strokes back?
no. Of course, we to some level, you know, that time, if you know that there is some punishment to come around. Now the discipline has been left for the prefects, other students are in there, which we can't accept as a society. You know, we must allow. This all goes down to morals of the society. Where members of parliament, where leaders in the society, they do wrong things, they are not punished. Therefore, what do you expect of these people who have been elected? They have been elected, and with their colleagues, you know, with all the powers that now they are going to rule over them. Whereas there are these members of parliament, there are these president who oversees impunity, who don't respect the rule of the law. How do we expect that one to go down?
So Simba is saying what we are seeing in our schools in the education system is a reflection of what we have in the society. Vincent, let's wrap this up.
And I pointed out that we really need to go back to our foundation. I'm a man of faith, and there is a scripture in the book of Nehemiah that says that look back, go back to the crossroads and ask for the ancient paths and walk in them. Days where people who are adults were respected. The days when you could not mention the teacher's name, but just so and so you have to. So I think we really need a reflection as a society, and I'm happy some confessions have come from our leaders, including Simba himself, that when we celebrate, for example, when we elect people who do not represent our values and they are in charge of resources. So you see, we send a wrong message that we are celebrating the wrong things. Let me just tell you, I interacted with the deputy governor in a meeting. I was a listener. He was speaking up there in the podium, and he said that I have a mentor. I have somebody who keeps me into account, even though I'm a leader. But there is somebody I submit to his authority. That was during the morning of work at Uhuru Gardens, Jonathan.
Yeah, as we have went up.
And I want to say that, you see, those are the attributes that we would want to celebrate more. Not those ones whereby somebody who is in power, is in wealth, and actually some of them are ill-gotten. So we have to revisit our foundations as a society, and we actually celebrate the things that we would want to see by giving everybody their rightful place in society.
And it starts with you and I. We have to revisit our history as a society, as individuals, our morals and our values. That is going to chart the way forward as we move as individuals and a society and a country. But I want us to wrap it up here, gentlemen. I want to give each of you 30 seconds. Please, 30 seconds, because the director is on my case. Last word.
Charles, one, I want to let you know that Citizen is in my constituency. Always you have been referring to the Great North as if it's, it's in some place. You are in the Great North. I just remind you.
And so when somebody is mugged around here, I'll hold you responsible.
I'm doing a marvelous exercise of bringing all the boys who have been involved in the crime. Very soon you'll see the program, what we are doing.
Thank you.
But then what I want to say is that let the Kenyans wake up, and we bring back the fabric of proper morals to our country.
Thank you, Vincent.
Just to say a big thank you. It's been my first time to be here in this
You're welcome. It was a
program.
pleasure having you here.
And then number two is to wish everybody, including Kenyans and our viewers who are watching us, a fruitful and a blessed week, and all the best. And as we walk towards 2017, that we keep the peace. Let us know that ultimately, when all is done, we are brothers, we are one people, and there's the blood of your brother or sister are actually the same. So let's keep the peace. This is our country. Our national anthem says, "Plenty be found within our borders. Violence is not part of plenty."
Thank you. Jonathan.
Three things. First and foremost is security situation. We just urge the government and the Minister of Interior to take control of this country, protect our lives, protect lives of our brothers and sisters in Baringo, in Laikipia and elsewhere, so that we can all live as Kenyans. Number two, we stand with the people of Nyeri as they bury their governor today. Very sad thing, and we pray for the family and friends of the late governor. Last but not least, this week we have the 4th Devolution Conference. We urge everybody who's going to be able to make it in Naivasha to come and see how devolution really has transformed lives around the country.
Thank you very much. That was Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor, Nairobi County. Mr. Vincent Kimosop, who is an analyst and a consultant with Sovereign Insight. Thank you very much for being present here today and your input. And of course, Simbarati, Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, where we are seated at the moment. Thank you for hosting us. My name is Charles Odhiambo. We will do this again. I take you back to our normal programming.